The summons the repair bay of the Astrian flagship Stellaris was alive with sound. A low hum that pressed against Captain Jake Reeves's teeth like a dull ache. Everything about the alien ship reminded him that humans were outsiders here. Guests walking inside a living miracle that did not belong to them. The walls pulsed with a soft glow like the heartbeat of a great creature, and the artificial gravity pressed against his legs in a way that felt wrong, like walking in a dream. Captain Reeves, the ship's AI said, its voice melodic and precise. Queen Zephra awaits you in Workshop 7. Please proceed directly, and do not touch any unmarked surfaces. Jake tightened his grip on the black toolkit slung across his shoulder. He already knew this assignment could go wrong in 100 different ways. It was one thing to fix alien machines. It was another to touch the biomechanical armor of the most feared warrior queen in the galaxy. That armor was alive, linked to her mind, and if he made a mistake, it could kill her or him. The corridors of the Stellaris curved like veins, glowing faintly as if blood or light flowed just beneath the surface. He walked slowly, counting his steps, trying not to imagine hidden eyes watching his every move. Other Astrians passed him, tall and graceful, their silver-blue skin shimmering under the bioluminescent panels. They did not greet him, they only looked, their gazes sharp, as if silently asking why a fragile human was trusted with such an important task. When he reached Workshop 7, the door opened with a sound like crystal breaking underwater. The chamber beyond was vast and glowing, not like any human workshop. It looked more like a cathedral made of living crystal, with diagnostic displays floating in the air like fragments of light. Symbols in Astrian script flickered, sharp and curved, and Jake had to turn his eyes away. They made his head hurt. At the center of the chamber stood Queen Zephra. She was taller than any human he had ever seen, her form wrapped in armor that shimmered like liquid silver. It moved across her body in waves, shifting as if it breathed with her. Her elongated ears bore scars that marked her royal bloodline, each cut telling the story of a battle survived. Her presence filled the chamber like a storm contained in human form. Jake bowed slightly, awkward but respectful. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice careful. Her gaze turned on him, sharp and unblinking, the focus of a predator that had chosen not to strike. Yet, "You are the human engineer," she said, her voice deep and musical. With an edge like a blade, her words carried weight, as if every syllable judged his worth. "Yes," Jake replied, his throat dry. "I've worked on biomechanical systems before, but nothing like this." Zephra studied him in silence, her glowing armor shifting as if echoing her thoughts. "The armor is bound to me," she explained, her tone calm but heavy. "It grows with my body. It learns my mind. It becomes me. That makes repairs." "Complicated," Jake nodded, though his pulse quickened. If the armor was alive, then touching it meant touching her. If he made a mistake, the feedback could fry her nervous system, or his. "You were chosen because your body is incompatible with Astrian pathways," she continued. "If something fails, only you will suffer." Her words were blunt, but Jake caught the meaning. He was here because his life was expendable. She gestured toward her left side, where dark scorch marks burned across the flowing metal. The damage was ugly, spiderweb cracks running like veins of fire through her armor. "That section is unstable," she said. "My own technicians cannot risk it. They are too closely linked. You will repair it while I remain conscious." Jake set down his toolkit and opened it, his human tools looking like crude toys compared to the living technology that surrounded him. "I'll need you to explain the interface as I work," he said quietly. "Every step so I don't trigger the wrong response." Zephra tilted her head, her piercing eyes studying him as if weighing his honesty. "I have read your record," she said. "You are known for precision and for respect. You do not pry where you are not welcome. That is why I allow this." Heat rose in Jake's cheeks. The Queen knew more about him than he expected. Her words carried something unspoken, a kind of trust he hadn't earned yet. "I'll be careful," he promised. "I'll explain everything before I do it." Zephra moved onto a crystalline platform that lifted her slowly into the air, her posture straight and commanding even seated. She looked like a figure carved from living steel, powerful and untouchable. Up close, Jake could see faint glowing nodes at her neck and wrists, where the armor fused into her skin. The thought of touching those points made his hands sweat. He took out his first scanner, its light flickering weakly compared to the rich glow of Astrian systems. "The damage section runs deeper than it looks," Zephra warned, her voice quieter now. The armor connects through my nerves. My body will feel every movement you make, Jake hesitated, his tools frozen above the scorch mark. This is going to be more intimate than either of us expected, he admitted. For the first time, her royal mask cracked, just slightly. Her ears flickered with a ripple of colors he could not read. Then she leaned forward, her voice low and steady. I have led armies into war, Captain. I have faced death on 1,000 fields. Do not think I cannot endure discomfort, Jake nodded, forcing his hand to steady. But as he reached for the first neural link, his heart thundered in his chest. The chamber seemed to shrink around them, crystal walls glowing brighter. The Queen did not move, did not flinch, but her eyes never left his. And as the tool touched the living armor for the first time, the air filled with a sharp hum, like the sound of something awakening. The summons had brought him here, but Jake was beginning to realize this was no simple repair. It was the beginning of something far larger and far more dangerous. The first touch. The chamber was silent, except for the faint pulse of alien light flowing across the walls. Captain Jake Reeves stood over Queen Zephra, his tools trembling in his hands. The scorch mark on her armor glowed faintly, like a wound refusing to heal. Every instinct told him to run, but every duty bound him to stay. Zephra's voice broke the silence, steady and commanding. You may begin, Captain. The armor is ready. I am ready. Jake swallowed hard, his scanner flashing across the damage. The readings made no sense to him, shapes and colors more than numbers. He realized this wasn't just technology. It was something alive, something that knew it was being touched. His fingers hovered over the surface, and in that instant he felt her gaze on him. Sharp as a blade at his throat, he made contact. The armor shivered beneath his tool like skin touched by ice. A ripple of bioluminescent light spread out in waves, racing across her body. The chamber answered with a hum so deep it made the floor vibrate. Zephra inhaled sharply, the sound small but sharp in the vast space. The armor interprets every touch as potential threat, she said quickly, her voice strained but steady. I must override its instincts. Do not stop, Captain. Continue. Jake wanted to pull back, but her command locked him in place. He adjusted the first neural node, careful, precise. The display above them flickered with alien patterns, his scanner translating them into something barely human-readable. Connection stable, but defensive response at 90%. Too high, far too high. Zephra's armor flared with silver-blue light. Her elongated ears flickered with color, betraying her effort. She was holding back the armor's instinct to strike at him. Jake's mind screamed at him to retreat, yet his hand stayed firm. Every adjustment was a battle, not against broken circuits, but against a living defense that wanted him gone. Remarkable, Jake whispered without meaning to. The armor learns from you, it reacts like it feels. Zephra's eyes narrowed, glowing with that alien intensity. It does feel, Captain. It is part of me. When you press here, it is as if you press against my own nerves. Jake froze, his hands inches from the scorched metal. The thought made his pulse quicken, his throat dry. You mean, you can feel all of this? Yes, she said, and this time her voice was softer, almost reluctant. Every touch, every hesitation, the armor translates it. My body feels it as real. He nodded slowly, his mind spinning. This wasn't repair. This was something far more intimate. If he slipped, if he rushed, it would not only destroy the armor, it could destroy her. He steadied his breath and pressed deeper, guiding his tools into the fractures. The armor responded with a low vibration, its light flickering like a living heartbeat. Zephra tensed, her fingers curling slightly against the crystal platform. Her control was absolute, but Jake could see the effort in the tight line of her jaw. The deeper he worked, the more the chamber seemed to react. Displays flickered faster, the walls pulsing like veins alive with blood. The air itself felt charged, heavy. As if it too shared the tension between them, Jake leaned closer, whispering so softly it barely reached her ears. Your Majesty, this system is unstable. If I force it, it might trigger a neural surge. Zephra's golden eyes locked onto his, unblinking, unyielding. Then do not force it, Captain. Guide it. As one would guide a wild beast, her words struck him. This armor wasn't just armor. It was alive, dangerous, loyal to her alone. And here he was, a fragile human, daring to tame it. He adjusted again, slower, gentler. This time the armor didn't flare violently, but rippled with softer light. Jake felt the tension ease from her body, if only slightly. Zephra exhaled, and for the first time her voice carried something new. Relief. Better, she whispered, her eyes softening. You learn quickly, Captain. Perhaps quicker than I expected. Jake risked a small smile, though his hand still shook. I've learned that sometimes machines don't want to be forced. They want to be understood. Her expression flickered, something between surprise and something deeper. She leaned forward slightly, her words quiet but sharp with meaning. Then you understand more than most of my own kind. The chamber hummed louder, as if echoing the truth of her words. Jake felt a surge of something strange, a connection not just to the armor but to her. Every move he made sent pulses of light through her body, each one answered by the faintest shift of her breath. It felt like their work was less repair and more conversation. One touch answered by one reaction. His scanner beeped. One fracture sealed. First section complete, Jake said, his voice low. Zephra moved experimentally, and the armor responded like liquid silver. Flowing smoothly across her side, she smiled faintly. A smile that was more dangerous than any weapon. You are not as fragile as I thought, she said. And then softer, almost like a warning. But be careful, Captain. The next section lies closer to my heart, and that part is more sensitive. The words hung in the chamber like an unspoken promise. Jake's breath caught, his fingers tightening around his tools. He had only begun, but already he knew the first touch had changed everything. Secrets beneath the armor. The chamber glowed softly as Jake moved closer to the Queen's damaged armor. The first fracture was sealed, but the next section pulsed with dangerous light. His scanner picked up wild readings, unstable energy, signals tangled like broken nerves. It wasn't just a crack in metal. It was a wound buried deep inside her body. Zephra's golden eyes followed his every move, sharp and unblinking. You will need to go deeper, she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. This section ties into my cardiovascular and emotional systems. It does not only monitor life, it remembers it. Jake frowned, his heart racing. Remembers? He asked, his fingers tightening around his tool. The Queen nodded, her expression unreadable. The armor stores echoes of what I feel. Captain, pain, fear, even desire, they do not vanish. They are imprinted in its pathways. The words struck him like a blade. He wasn't repairing a machine. He was walking through the memory of her soul. If the armor remembered everything, then touching it meant unsealing the scars she carried. Scars not only from battle, but from a lifetime of being Queen. Jake leaned in, guiding his tool carefully along the scorched lines. The armor flared with a ripple of light. And for a second, his scanner displayed something strange. Patterns that looked like emotions. He saw sharp spikes that matched fear, long curves that looked like sorrow, and faint rising waves that suggested longing. He froze, realizing what he was looking at. Your Majesty, he whispered, this damage, it isn't only from combat. Zephra's gaze shifted, her ears flickering with colors he couldn't name. You are observant, she said at last, her voice lower now. Yes. Some fractures come not from battle, but from the weight of command. The armor carries stress I do not show. It breaks where I cannot. Jake's chest tightened. He saw the truth in the readings. The armor wasn't only her shield. It was her prison, holding years of exhaustion, loneliness, and sacrifice. And now he was the first person to ever see it. He steadied his hand, repairing one of the microfractures with delicate precision. The armor trembled beneath his touch, reacting not with violence but with something else. Release. Zephra exhaled softly, her breath escaping as if a weight had been lifted. The moment felt less like repair and more like healing. But the deeper he went, the more dangerous it became. Every adjustment sent pulses through her body, her nerves lighting up with responses she couldn't fully hide. Her fingers tightened against the crystal platform. Her jaw clenched, yet her eyes never left his. You are unlocking pieces of me long restrained, she murmured. Be careful, Captain. You do not know what may surface. Jake hesitated, then asked, his voice quiet but steady. When was the last time someone truly cared for your well-being? The question hung heavy in the air. Zephra's gaze sharpened, and for a moment he feared he had crossed a line. But then her voice came, softer than before. Care is not for queens, Captain. Duty consumes it, always duty. Never care. The word struck him harder than any weapon. He understood then. The armor was not failing from weakness. It was failing because it had carried her strength alone for too long. The cracks in the metal were the cracks in her heart. Jake worked slower now, his hands steady, but his intent changed. He wasn't just repairing, he was showing the armor what care felt like. Each adjustment was precise. Gentle, filled with respect, and the armor responded, its pulses shifting from chaotic flares to smoother waves. It was learning, recalibrating, recognizing the difference between forced command and compassionate touch. Zephra's breath caught, her eyes widening slightly. The readings, they are changing, she whispered. The armor is recording you, Captain. It is rewriting its baseline to match your method. Jake froze. Staring at the glowing displays, the patterns were shifting, stabilizing around a new rhythm, his rhythm. That meant the Queen's living armor was no longer only hers. It was binding, recording, remembering him. Zephra sat taller, her composure cracking only at the edges. Do you understand what this means? She asked, her voice heavy with both warning and wonder. Jake swallowed hard. It means your armor will remember me, he said slowly. Not just my tools, but my intent. Her golden eyes burned into his, unyielding, unreadable. Yes, she replied, her voice low. And once it remembers, it cannot forget. The chamber seemed to tighten around them, the walls glowing brighter, the hum louder. Jake realized he had crossed an invisible line. What he had just done was not only repair, it was intimacy. Trust and danger fused into one. He sealed the final fracture in that section, his hands trembling slightly. The armor's glow settled. Calmer now, as if sighing in relief, Zephra tested her movement, the armor flowing more smoothly than before. She looked at him then, her voice soft but cutting deep. You are not only repairing my armor, Captain. You are uncovering truths I have hidden for years. Jake's chest tightened at her words. He had come to fix alien technology, but instead he had begun unlocking the secrets of a queen's soul. And as the lights dimmed slightly, one truth echoed in his mind with dangerous clarity. This mission was no longer about survival. It was about connection, a connection that could change both of their worlds. The core systems. The chamber grew colder as Jake prepared for the next stage. The glow of the armor shifted, its bioluminescent lines drawing inward toward the Queen's chest. This was not just another fracture. This was the heart of the system. If he made one mistake here, it would not be repair, it would be destruction. Zephra sat upright on the crystal platform, her golden eyes fixed on him. Her composure was flawless, but he could see the faintest tremor in her fingers. The next repair is the most dangerous, she said quietly, her voice echoing in the stillness. The core lies near my heart. It monitors my life, my emotions, even my thoughts. To touch it is to touch all of me. Jake's throat tightened. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to step back. But the Queen's gaze allowed no retreat. You trust me to do this, he said, his voice low. Her ears flickered with faint color, a subtle signal of conflict. I trust necessity, she replied. Then after a pause added, and I trust you more than I expected. The words hit him harder than any command. She was risking her very self on him, a human outsider with crude tools and steady hands. He swallowed his fear and activated the scanner. The readings were unlike anything he had ever seen, an endless weave of light and signal, each pulse aligned to her heartbeat. It was beautiful but terrifying, a living map of her soul. He reached forward, and the moment his tool touched the edge of the interface, the chamber flared with light. The hum rose, vibrating through the floor and into his bones. Jake gasped. The feedback surged through his scanner into his own body. For a second, he felt her heartbeat inside his chest, pounding with power not his own. Zephra's breath hitched, her eyes narrowing. The core reacts to you, she said, her voice strained. It has never done this before, Captain. You are inside its rhythm now. Do not break it, Jake forced his hands steady. Adjusting the fractured pathways one by one, every contact sent waves of sensation through the armor. Reflected in her body, her fingers curled tightly against the platform, her breath uneven. Still she held her composure, guiding him with calm words. Move slower, yes there. The core resists when rushed. It responds better to patience, he obeyed, working gently. As though coaxing a living creature instead of repairing metal, the displays around them flickered with cascading data. Jake realized the armor was not only healing, it was listening. It was learning the meaning behind his careful movements, the intent behind his touch. Zephra's golden eyes softened as the glow around her chest steadied. You repair as if you are speaking, she whispered, her voice trembling. Each touch carries meaning. The armor feels it. And so do I. Jake froze for a moment, staring at her, the queen who had led armies, who carried scars of battles across galaxies, now looked at him with something deeper than command. Something fragile, something human. He realized he was not just fixing her armor. He was crossing into her most private self. But then the scanner shrieked, its alarms flashing red. One of the pathways resisted violently. Flaring with chaotic energy, Zephra gasped, her body shuddering as the feedback struck her nerves. Jake's heart lurched, panic flooding him. Your Majesty, it's rejecting the repair if I continue. It might overload your system. Her eyes blazed. Her voice sharp with both command and desperation. Do not stop, Captain. If you leave it broken, the feedback will spread. I will not survive it. Continue. Whatever happens, continue. Jake gritted his teeth, sweat rolling down his brow. He steadied his hands, pressing deeper into the core. The chamber's light flared blindingly bright, the hum rising to a deafening roar for a heartbeat. He felt himself inside her mind, flashes of memory, shadows of wars, faces of enemies, moments of loneliness. It was too much, too raw. But he forced himself to focus. He adjusted the node with infinite care, guiding it back into alignment. The wild energy trembled, then slowly settled. The glow of the armor calmed, flowing in harmony with her heartbeat once more. Zephra's body relaxed, her breath steadying, her eyes closing in relief. When she opened them again, her voice was softer than he had ever heard. You touched the core. Captain, no one has ever dared, and you lived. Do you understand what that means? Jake shook his head slowly, still catching his breath. I only know it nearly killed us both, he said. Zephra leaned forward, her golden eyes locking onto his. It means the armor accepted you. It remembers you now, not as outsider, but as part of me. The words hung heavy in the chamber. Jake realized then that the danger was not only survival. The true risk was what came after, the bond now forming between them. A bond neither of them had chosen, but neither could deny. And as the armor's light pulsed softly with her heartbeat, Jake knew one truth with chilling clarity. He had touched more than the Queen's armor. He had touched the Queen herself. The confession of steel and flesh. The chamber was quiet again, but the quiet felt dangerous. The glow of Zephra's armor had changed. Its pulses calmer, smoother. Yet there was something else in the rhythm now. Jake's scanner confirmed it. The armor was recalibrating itself, building new baselines, not from Zephra's commands, but from him. He froze, staring at the data. It's remembering me, he whispered almost to himself. Zephra's golden eyes studied him carefully. Yes, she said at last, her voice low. The armor records not only what you did, but how you did it, your intent, your patience, your care. It has accepted your touch as part of its pattern. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. That means I'm part of its memory now. It won't forget me. Zephra nodded slowly, her ears flickering with faint color. It cannot, Captain. You have imprinted yourself upon the core, and that has consequences you cannot yet imagine. The words chilled him. A human bonded to alien armor was not something written in any manual. If the Astrian court discovered this, they might see it as corruption, even violation. But worse than politics was the personal truth. He had touched more than steel. He had touched her. He continued working, his hands steady but his mind spinning. Every small adjustment was echoed in the glow of her armor. Every movement reflected in the faint shifts of her breath. It was impossible to ignore the intimacy of it. Each tool stroke felt less like repair and more like exploration. The armor was alive, yes, but it was also her, and she felt every detail. Zephra's voice broke the silence, softer than before. Do you understand, Captain, what this feels like for me? Jake paused, his tools hovering. Like maintenance? He guessed carefully. Her golden eyes narrowed, a faint smile tugging at her lips, though her voice carried no humor. No, it feels like being seen. Like someone is paying attention not to the Queen, not to the warrior, but to the woman beneath the armor. Jake's chest tightened. The honesty in her voice was sharper than any blade. He realized then that this repair was more than technical. It was personal. Painfully personal. The armor translated his touch into sensation. And Zephra, the most feared leader in the galaxy, was admitting that no one had ever touched her this way. He steadied his breath and leaned closer. Adjusting a sensitive node near her ribs, the glow surged, her body tensing as feedback rippled through her. Her voice trembled as she whispered, Careful, Captain, that part is more sensitive than the others. The words struck him, not just as warning, but as confession. She wasn't only telling him about the armor. She was telling him about herself. He forced himself to stay calm, his hands precise. "I'll go slow," he said softly. "I won't push past your limits." Her gaze locked onto his, and for the first time he saw something unguarded in her eyes. Not command, not authority, but trust. Trust in him, a human outsider, holding the power to wound or to heal. The displays around them flickered again, showing spikes of energy that were not mechanical. Jake frowned, leaning closer. "These readings, they don't look like damage," he said, his voice uncertain. Zephra's ears flickered with color, her breath uneven. "They are not damage," she admitted. "They are responses. Emotional echoes the armor records when it senses something powerful." Jake felt the weight of her words. The armor was recording this moment. Every careful touch, every tremor in her breath. It was classifying it as something deeper than repair. His scanner confirmed it with chilling clarity. Neural convergence detected. Foreign consciousness merging. Jake's pulse raced. "That can't be safe," he said quickly. "If this continues, your armor might link us. It might pull me into your systems." Zephra didn't flinch, her voice quiet but steady. "Perhaps. But it has chosen you already, Captain. Do you think I could stop it now, even if I wanted to?" The chamber seemed smaller, the glow brighter, the hum louder. Jake realized the truth. There was no going back. The armor had decided, and so had she. What began as survival was now something else entirely. Zephra leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "For years I have carried this weight alone. The armor knew only my duty, my strength, my silence. Now it knows your hands. Your care, your presence. Tell me, Captain. Do you see what that means?" Jake met her gaze, his chest heavy, his voice rough. "It means you're not alone anymore." Her golden eyes softened, her armor glowing in waves that matched the rhythm of her heartbeat. For a moment she looked less like a queen and more like a woman who had allowed herself to be seen. But the displays flared with a warning, sharp and urgent. The words pulsed in Astrian script, and his scanner translated them into human language. Alert, emotional resonance exceeding threshold. Neural convergence deepening. Jake's stomach dropped. The armor wasn't just recording anymore, it was merging them, pulling their minds closer with every second. And as Zephra sat before him, her voice trembling yet steady, she whispered, "Then be prepared, Captain. Because once this bond completes, neither of us will ever be the same again." The vulnerable queen. The warning glow still pulsed across the chamber. Jake's scanner screamed with alerts, foreign consciousness merging. Emotional resonance climbing past safe levels. Every rational thought told him to stop, to break the connection before it destroyed them both. But Zephra did not move, her golden eyes locked onto his. "Steady, burning, unafraid, Your Majesty," Jake said quickly, his voice sharp with urgency. "We have to slow this down. The armor is pulling us together. If it keeps going, we'll lose ourselves in it." Zephra tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Is that truly what frightens you, Captain?" she asked softly. "Losing yourself or finding something you did not expect?" Her words struck him harder than the alarms because deep inside, he knew the truth. He wasn't afraid of dying in this chamber. He was afraid of what it meant to be known this deeply. The armor was recording not only her responses, but his, every hesitation, every careful movement, every flicker of feeling he tried to bury. All of it was being etched into her living second skin. Zephra exhaled slowly, her voice quieter now. "For centuries, I have carried a crown that weighs more than any battlefield. I lead armies, I sign treaties. I hold power that no mortal should, and yet—" Her words faltered, her ears flickering with faint color. "And yet I am alone, Captain, surrounded always by loyalty, but never by trust, surrounded by fear, but never by care." Jake froze, his tools still in his hands. He had seen her as warrior, as queen, as untouchable force of nature. But now he saw something far more dangerous. Her truth. The queen was lonely, desperately so, and the armor, that loyal prison of steel and nerve, had stored every moment of that silence, every unspoken need, every buried ache. "Zephra," he whispered, her name strange but natural on his lips. Her eyes softened at the sound, though her voice trembled when she spoke again. "The armor suppresses weakness. It buries what I cannot show, but it cannot erase the cost. You are repairing more than metal, Captain. You are waking parts of me that have slept too long." Jake's chest tightened. Her words were not just confession, they were surrender. She was letting him see her not as queen, not as legend, but as woman. A woman exhausted by command, by isolation. By years of wearing strength like a mask, the chamber's light dimmed as the core pulsed in rhythm with both of them. Jake's scanner translated the readings in a single line of human language. Emotional convergence stabilizing. His heart skipped. Stabilizing meant permanence. If they continued, this bond would not fade, it would stay. "We can stop," Jake said quickly, his voice rough. "I can pull away. Break the link before it completes." Zephra's gaze sharpened, fierce yet fragile all at once. "Do you want to stop, Captain?" she asked. Her question cut deeper than any blade. He should have said yes, he should have walked away. But the truth sat heavy in his chest. "No," he whispered. "No, I don't." Her golden eyes softened, and for the first time since he had met her, she smiled. Not the smile of a queen, not the mask of command, but a human smile, small and vulnerable. "Then do not," she said, her voice trembling. "Do not stop now. You have gone further than anyone else has ever dared. Do not abandon me when I finally wish to be seen." Jake felt something shift inside him. This was no longer repair, no longer duty, this was connection. Dangerous and forbidden, but real. He reached forward, his tools brushing the nodes near her collarbone. Her body tensed, her breath catching, but she did not pull away. The armor glowed brighter, reacting not only to his precision, but to the intent behind it. His scanner pulsed with new warnings. Alert. Neural merging expanding. Shared resonance detected. Jake clenched his jaw, forcing his hand steady. Every adjustment now felt like writing his name into her very soul. Zephra's voice broke through, low and almost breaking. "Do you know, Captain, what it is to be touched not as symbol, not as weapon, but simply as yourself?" Jake's throat tightened. "No," he admitted. "But I think I'm learning now." Their gazes held. The chamber glowing brighter, the hum growing deeper. The armor was no longer just machine, it was witness. Recording, binding, rewriting the meaning of what it meant to be queen. Zephra exhaled, her voice trembling but steady with truth. "For the first time, Captain, I am not the Astrian queen. I am not the blade of war. I am not the crown. For the first time, I am only Zephra, and you are the only one who has ever seen me so." Jake's hands shook as he sealed the final node of that section. The armor pulsed in harmony with their shared rhythm. His scanner flashed a single message across the screen. Bond stabilized. He looked at her, breathless, shaken, changed, and she looked back. Golden eyes filled with something that no crown could command. Not power, not authority, but trust, and trust, Jake realized, was far more dangerous than any war. Recalibration complete, or not? The chamber pulsed with a steady glow. The repairs were done, every fracture sealed, every damaged node restored. Jake Reeves stood with his tools still in his hands, his chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. Before him, Queen Zephra moved slowly, testing her armor as it flowed across her body like liquid silver. For the first time, it moved without delay. Smooth, alive, almost joyful. "The systems are stable," Jake said softly, his scanner confirming the readings. "The armor responds more cleanly than before." "It is recalibrated." Zephra turned her golden eyes toward him. Her expression unreadable, but her voice carried a weight he could not ignore. "No, Captain, it is not only recalibrated, it is changed." "And so am I," Jake frowned, his pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" Zephra stepped down from the crystal platform, her movements fluid, her armor glowing with patterns he had never seen before. "They respond to you," she said, her voice calm but edged with something deeper. "Your presence, your intent, your care. They have been written into the core. The armor remembers you now as much as it remembers me." The weight of her words struck him like a blow. This wasn't just about repairing a system. This was about binding himself to the most powerful figure in the galaxy. And the bond was not temporary, it was permanent. His scanner flickered again with a warning. One final message pulsing across the display. Neural resonance locked. Dual imprint detected. Jake's throat went dry. It won't ever release me," he whispered. Zephra's gaze softened, her voice lower now. "No, Captain, it will not. You are part of me now, whether we wish it or not." The silence that followed was heavier than battle. Jake could hear only the hum of the ship, the rhythm of his own heart, and the faint glow of her armor answering both. "This could be dangerous," he said at last, his voice rough. "If your people discover this, they'll see me as corruption, intrusion, they might—" He stopped himself, unable to finish. Zephra stepped closer. the glow of her armor bathing them both in silver light. "They might fear it," she said. "Yes, but fear is the oldest ally of power. And perhaps this bond is not corruption but evolution. Perhaps it is what we both need." Jake searched her eyes. He saw no fear there, no regret, only truth and something deeper he dared not name. "I never meant for this," he admitted. "I only wanted to repair the damage, and you did," she replied softly. "But in repairing me, you repaired more than armor. You touched what no one else has touched. And now we are both changed." The displays around them flickered suddenly, as if the armor itself wanted to speak. Symbols pulsed in the air, sharp and urgent. Jake's scanner translated them. "Final test required. Synchronize or reject." His stomach dropped. "The armor is challenging us," he said quickly. "It wants proof that this bond is real. It will either lock us together fully or tear the link apart." Zephra's eyes narrowed, her voice calm even as tension edged her words. "Then we will face it together, Captain. As one." The chamber brightened, the hum rising into a roar. Jake felt a rush of heat in his veins, the armor's energy pulling at his mind, testing him. Memories not his own flashed before his eyes. Wars he had never fought, planets he had never seen, pain he had never lived. They were her memories. Pouring into him like fire, he staggered, his knees buckling. But a hand caught him. Her hand, strong, steady, holding him upright. "Stay with me," Zephra commanded, her voice sharp but filled with urgency. "Do not let go, Captain, not now." Jake gritted his teeth, forcing himself to breathe. "I'm here," he whispered. "I won't let go." The energy surged, wrapping around them like a storm. Jake felt his thoughts slipping, merging, but through it all he held to one thing, the steady rhythm of her heartbeat echoing inside him. He focused on it, guided by it, and slowly the storm began to calm. The displays shifted, their warnings fading. One final message appeared in glowing script. "Bond accepted. Synchronization complete." The chamber fell silent. Jake opened his eyes to see Zephra standing close, her golden eyes locked on his, her armor glowing with new light. Not the harsh light of command, but something warmer, more alive. She exhaled slowly, her voice soft. "It is done, Captain. The armor has bound us both, no longer queen and outsider, but something more." Jake's chest tightened, his breath uneven. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. Zephra's lips curved into a faint smile, the kind that carried both promise and danger. "Now," she whispered, stepping closer, "we discover what it means to share more than duty, more than battle, more than fear. Now, Captain, we begin something new." The chamber lights dimmed, the hum fading into silence, but inside Jake, he could still feel it, the bond. Alive, pulsing, unbreakable. The armor was repaired, but the story was only beginning.